Well, here's Rocky and I in the wilds of Canada. Yeah, good old Canada. Yes, hey, my goodness, what a place. It's like living in a Monty Python sketch. It really is. I don't think we have a ministry of silly walks yet, but it's coming. You just wait, it's coming. Canada is a country where being a homosexual is a priority, and all things homosexual are to be celebrated. Um, Fixing our broken economy, not so much. Human rights, forget human rights. Of course, the right to be a homosexual, you have that right, but all other rights you don't have. Look, I'm not against homosexuals. I don't hate homosexuals. And I think if you are a homosexual, you have the right to be a homosexual. But, I mean, not everybody's a homosexual. So it'd be nice if there was something for the rest of us here. Plus, even the homosexuals are negatively affected when the economy's bad and when there are no human rights. If you're a homosexual and the only human right you have is to be a homosexual, then there's an awful lot of other rights that you don't have along with the rest of us, you know. So you're still very easily going to be a victim of abuse at the hands of the authorities. Just not for being a homosexual. There'd be some other reason they'll abuse you. But, I mean, you're not safe. Homosexuals are no safer than anyone else. Homosexuals are ending up homeless just like everybody else is. Homosexuals are suffering terrible hardships under this system and under this regime. So it's no great prize, to be homosexual in Canada. Those people are suffering too. It's just that while they're suffering, their sexual orientation is being celebrated. In fact, it's mandatory. We must celebrate homosexuality. While we starve to death on the street, we must celebrate homosexuality. While we get sent to jail for criticizing corrupt politicians, we must celebrate homosexuality. We must sing songs of praise of homosexuality in the back of the police van on our way to prison because we said something negative about Justin Trudeau. It seems that's how it goes. So, I mean, what a place, eh? What a clown world we're living in right now. Nothing makes sense. People are crazy. There are so many people who are so happy with this system, and they get mad at you if you say, wait a minute now, you know, how can anybody be happy when they're suffering terrible hardships and they're not allowed to speak freely and so on? How can anybody be happy? These videos I'm making right now are most likely going to land me in prison. And I know that. What I'm doing right now, I'm putting myself behind bars by saying the things I'm saying and saying them openly. Because this is Canada and we're past it. I don't know if we're quite there yet where they can actually put me away for what I'm saying. We might be, but we're on our way. I mean, the laws that are working their way through Parliament right now, those are laws that will definitely put people like me away. Because I dare to speak some truth. Because I dare to have an opinion that isn't sanctioned by the government. You know? And they'll say I'm a hate monger and all the rest of it. But, that just isn't true. What I am is I'm frustrated. I mean, look, you can't replace food and shelter with homosexuality. You can't. You can't replace it with heterosexuality either. But the point is, you can't replace it. So, I mean, if we make everything about celebrating homosexuality, well, and we devote all our energy to that, then the whole place is going to go to hell. It's all going to fall apart around our ears, and that's what's happening. The streets are crumbling. I drive my truck. It's a hell of an experience driving around here because the highways and the streets are in such bad shape. But we have them painted up with rainbow crosswalks because that's a priority. Why don't we lay some new asphalt before we start painting up things in rainbow colors? Why don't we do that so that our vehicles don't fall apart on us? So we can actually get from point A to point B without tearing the guts out of ourselves and our vehicles. What good is a street that's painted up like a rainbow if you can't drive on it? That's a legitimate question. That doesn't come from a place of hatred. That's a legitimate question. What good is a street that's painted up like a rainbow if you cannot drive your vehicle over it without wrecking your vehicle, without destroying all your front end steering and suspension parts, without beating the hell out of your tires, without busting the steel belts out of your steel belted radials? What's the point? What's the point in having a street that you can't, you use as a street? That's just a propaganda art piece for the gay lifestyle, whatever that is. I mean, I'm not even sure what that is. It's a saying that I hear used, the gay lifestyle. I mean, I don't know. Look, I would like for those people to be able to live in peace and to be whatever they are and to do whatever they do in peace. And I would like a society that respects that acknowledges their right to their own self-determination and to be whoever they are. But even though from a religious point of view the Bible condemns those practices, the Bible also says that we're given free will by God. And so it's not for me to take another person's free will away from them. But I do not want to live in a society that's completely oriented toward a sexual orientation, where we let everything go to hell while we celebrate a specific sexual orientation. And that's what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, look, I can't live in homosexuality. I can't eat homosexuality. I can't drive my truck over homosexuality. The infrastructure needs to be fixed. The economy needs to be fixed. The supply chain needs to be fixed. And it breeds a lot of resentment. And the truth is, what's happening now is that community is becoming a scapegoat. Because there's a lot of people who are frustrated like I am, but they're not deep thinkers. And so they don't see any further than the stupid rainbow crosswalks and pride flags flying everywhere. And so they blame that particular segment of society. They say, oh, those homosexuals are causing this. No, it's not them. I mean, there's a certain contingent of them that are really happy to go along with it, yes, because they're fooled too. Because, they have their share of people who aren't deep thinkers as well. It isn't just heterosexual men and women who aren't deep thinkers. There's members of the gay community who also are not deep thinkers. And so they can't see past what's really going on. They can't see what's going on. They can only see they can only see the facade. And they're thinking, well, we finally have our rights. Well, yes and no. Because if you're living in a society where there are no civil rights, you don't have your rights. So yes, you now are not targeted like you once were, and that's a good thing. I mean, I never supported that when that was the thing. I never thought that it was good that people could abuse homosexuals. But what's happened is the pendulum has swung to the opposite extreme. And now it's the equivalent of the old story about Nero fiddling while Rome burned. You know, right, did Nero played his fiddle while Rome burned? Now, I believe that that's a myth. I think that's been kind of debunked or whatever, that he didn't actually do that. But that's the story, and it conjures up quite an image, of Nero, Emperor Nero, playing the fiddle while Rome burned. Cat fur makes, especially my nose gets itchy with the cat fur. But anyway, the thing is, what we're doing is we're painting rainbow crosswalks and hanging rainbow flags while Canada burns. The place is burning to the ground, and we can't see it because we're too busy celebrating homosexuality. You know, I mean, and the arsonists are our government. They're the people who run the place. You know, it really is like a Monty Python sketch, only it isn't funny. Monty Python was funny. Anybody who's ever watched the old Monty Python Flying Circus or whatever, or any of the old Monty Python movies, that stuff's hilarious. But the reason it's hilarious is because it takes the stupidity of modern life and it makes a parody of it. It forces us to laugh at ourselves. So like it makes fun of the bureaucracy. It makes fun of social norms. It makes fun of a lot of the silliness that goes on, that we all know it goes on, and we all kind of turn a blind eye to it to a degree just so we can get through life. But on some level, it frustrates us. So then when we see Monty Python doing a sketch, like we're frustrated by all the government overreach and the government bureaucracy and the wasting government, how your tax dollars are squandered for stupid stuff and everything. And then we see Monty Python's Ministry of Silly Walks. And it makes us laugh because it's just about that bad, isn't it? And it makes us laugh, because it's a way of venting our frustration to laugh at that. To say, yeah, it really is just about like that, isn't it? We have a bureaucracy for everything. We have a tax for everything. We have, rules and regulations for rules and regulations. We have a rule and a regulation as to how you're to follow the rule and the regulation that they've already instituted on you or whatever. And then they'll tax you for it, too, on top of that. And I mean, we get frustrated, so we look at something like that where they do a parody of it, where they take it to an extreme that it really isn't at, but still, we feel like it is, really, because we're so frustrated by the whole thing, and it makes us laugh. That's why Monty Python is so funny, because he makes fun of all the stupid crap that actually does go on, and he just takes it to an extreme and makes fun of it. But, I can only imagine the fun he'd be having with what's happening now. The only thing is, he'd probably be in jail. If he was in Canada, he would be, and actually he is British, and in Britain it's even worse than it is here. The wokeism and the political correctness and the laws. They put a woman in jail for silently praying near an abortion clinic. They actually did. In England, they put a woman in jail for that. So, I mean, they're even worse than we are. And we're bad. But, so he'd probably be in prison these days. He probably would be. You can just imagine you can just imagine the sketches he would make with the painting of the. I could see it now. The big sinkholes in the road, and somebody's painting a rainbow crosswalk, and the road opens up and swallows them. Where'd Jeff go? I believe the road swallowed him up. you know, I mean, he was painting a rainbow crosswalk, and then he disappeared into a giant hole. I mean, that's what it would be, And it would be hilarious. But then poor Monty Pie thought he'd have to go to prison. They put him in prison for that. I mean, you can't do that. That's hateful. I mean, anyway, the bottom line is, they'd have trucks, or as they called them in England, lorries, coming along and disappearing, into the big potholes in the road and the sinkholes and stuff, as they're painting their rainbow crosswalks. You'd hear a big crash. Somebody stooped down there painting a yellow stripe or something, or beside the one who's painting a pink stripe or whatever, and then you'd hear a huge crash. What was that? I don't know. I think maybe a delivery lorry disappeared in the sinkhole over there. Bloody hell, the road just swallowed up an OXO beef cube delivery truck. Really, I mean, I can't even imagine. It'd be great, but it would be short-lived because they'd be in prison for that now. That would be a jailable offense to make a sketch like that. But anyway, the bottom line is, Canada has become a country that's completely devoted to foolishness. It really is, and you can't run a country that way. Basically, it's devoted. What do they offer us here? They offer us poverty, homelessness, homosexuality, and assisted suicide. And that's another thing that I want to touch on while I still have a little room on my phone. I don't know how long before I'll run out, but I'll do it as quick as I can. They claim that this assisted suicide thing is humane. Well, I thought about that, and what I'm wondering is, and what I have wondered, and I've recently found out something, and that answered my question. But I'm going to put the question out there anyway. It's a question that I've had. If we're really doing it humanely, why haven't the Americans who are executing people by lethal injection come up here to pick our brains? Why haven't they come up here to find out how we're doing it? Because down there, they've had a lot of botched lethal injections where they're putting prisoners to death. And it's embarrassing. They have prisoners down there on death row now who are choosing to die in the electric chair if they can, because they figure it's a more humane death than lethal injection. And apparently they're right. The science backs them up on that. Imagine when being cooked from the inside out, literally being boiled alive in your own juices, is a better death than a lethal injection. Yet, apparently it is. So, I mean, like I say, the science backs them up on it. And it turns out we're using the same procedure here for these supposed mercy killings. We're using the same drug cocktail. That's the reason that they haven't come up here saying, hey, how are you guys doing it? Because I can tell you, if I was the guy in charge of executing prisoners in an American prison, in some state in the United States, I'd be on an airplane. I'd be flying up here. And I'd be talking to the people who are doing this thing, and I'd be saying, hey, how are you doing it? Because we're having some really bad luck with these executions we're doing. And we're not wanting to torture people. We're to follow the court order. It's been ordered that they be killed, and we're to kill them. But we're not supposed to be torturing them to death. And so I would like to do my job better. I would like to do the job without torturing people, and apparently you've figured out how to do it, so I'm here to be educated. Please show me what you do. Please show me the drugs. Please tell me how you administer them. Please tell me how you calculate dosages and so on. Tell me all the technical details of what you're doing so that I can take that knowledge back home with me, and so that when I have to lay a man on that gurney at the end of the hall, when all his appeals have run out, and I have to put him to death, I don't have to torture him to death. Show me how you're doing it. They've never done that. They've never done it. And the reason they've never done it is because we're doing the same shit they're doing. Only we're doing it to people who, are terminally ill, or people who are, they want to expand it now to cover anybody pretty much who wants to die. And they're making life so hard in this country that a lot of people are wanting to die who wouldn't otherwise want to die. They're making it so that you can be put down because you can't pay your bills anymore and stuff. Or because you're depressed. Imagine you're a depressed, suicidal person, and the government is offering to kill you. They're offering to do the job for you. Instead of helping you to see that life can be beautiful. What a dark and depressing place. It's sad. Look, I appreciate nature and everything, and I appreciate the good people I know, the friends that I have, and so on. But I don't like Canada. As a country, I don't like it. And this is why. And I've never really liked it because I've seen how we didn't have rights. I've seen how the police can do things to you and get away with it. I've seen how the courts are unjust, and that's always been the case. At least in my lifetime it has been. I've seen how the system really doesn't care about us right from the beginning. And so I'm not a believer in it. I'll accept it as a necessary evil, but that's about as far as I'll go, And right now, I'm wondering if it's even necessary. A system that does nothing for us and just promotes all kinds of stuff that's, look, it's one thing to say you're not allowed to target a group of people within society, homosexuals or anyone else, for abuse on the basis of them being what they are. I agree with that. That should not happen. We should not be abusing people. And we used to do that in a big way. And it was wrong. And I actually spoke against it, and I got in trouble for speaking against it back in the day when that was still how it was. So, as far as I'm concerned, I've paid my dues. I've spoke against things that were wrong. Society has caught up with me on that, but what they've done is they've gone past that to the point of ludicrous insanity. And our government is pushing this. And look, if you're going to paint your rainbow crosswalks, at least fix the damn roads that you're painting first. At the very least, do that. It's beyond stupid what's happening right now. Anyway, that's it. I just don't really care for a country that promotes homosexuality and death and suicide and legalizes street drugs. That's another thing they're in the process of doing now. So basically, it's death. They're promoting death is what they're doing with that. And promotes all that stuff. The place falls apart. It just doesn't make any sense, fix the damn place. The place is broken, fix it. If the foundation is coming out from under your house and your house is sinking into the ground, that's not the time to be in the living room choosing a color for your walls. Oh, Oh, that'd be another Monty Python sketch. The house is sitting like this. One side of the house is sinking into the ground. And this woman's in the living room with her husband. Oh, I think we should paint the living room a nice shade of mauve, or possibly green. What do you think, dear? Oh, yes, green would be nice. I mean, and then you hear this cracking and crashing sound, and you see the room tilts like this. Oh, there goes the couch into the sinkhole. I mean, there you go. I think the credenza's in the basement now. We're going to have a hell of a time getting the ladders to stay still. We'll have to lash them to something while we're painting, I mean, again, it'd be a great Monty Python sketch. I could write for him, only I'd write him right into prison, I guess, with the things that I come up with. Because that's all illegal now. I'm probably talking myself into prison. And they say these laws are going to be retroactive. They're going to be able to go back and see what you've already done and use that to put you in prison. So when Bill C-63 passes, for example, they can go back and they can put me in jail for making this video. They can't put me in jail today, as far as I know. Maybe they can, I don't know, but I don't think they can yet. I'd probably already be in jail if they could. But when Bill C-63 passes, they'll be able to look at everything I've done. They'll be able to use this video to lock me up. That's how insane Canada is. It's a crazy place. Anyway, that's it. We'll talk to you later. There's Rocky.